It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, getting a bone, getting high, getting shook. I'll show you folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. If you really see the new one-night stands, try playing a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome back to another installment of the 2007 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We take you to race number 3 of 36. It's Rockingham for the Subway 400 as we take to the first short track of the season, the High Banks here in North Carolina. But all that to come as we take you to the racetrack for your starting lineup in tonight's race. As starting on the pole tonight, it's going to be Scott Wimmer in the number 23 car for Bill Davis Racing. Joining him on the front row, it's Ryan Newman's number 38. He starts in P number 2. Down the rest of the starting lineup here tonight, as Casey Atwood's number 30 will join that top 5 in 3rd. Clint Boyer in the 4 car. He'll be in P at number 4. And Tony Stewart rounds out the top 5 in 5th, with DJ Kennington alongside him in row number 3. Matt Kenseth in the 17. He's in P number 7. And 8th place goes to Kevin Harvick in the 20. Elliott Sadler will be starting in 9th. And Jimmy Johnson rounds out the top 10 in tonight's race. Robbie Gordon, defending champion and last week's winner, he's in 11th, joined by Greg Biffle's number 16 car in P12. A nice qualifying from the 07 of Ryan McGlynn. Always like to shout out that 07 team. He's in P number 13, joined by Jeff Gordon, who sits in the 14th spot. 15th, that'll be Carl Edwards' number 19, and Kurt Busch in the 16th spot. Juan Pablo Montoya, he's in P number 17, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be in the 18th spot. Casey Kane is 19th in the 12, and Jason Leffler will be in P at number 20. Bobby Labonte in 21st, and Justin Allgaier making his 3rd of 4 consecutive scheduled starts to start this year. He's 22nd. Todd Bodine will be P number 23, and J.J. Yaley in the 24th position. Jeff Burton, P25, and Martin Truex Jr. in 26th place. David Rudiman will be in 27th in the 98. Scott Riggs joins him, couple of Fords, 28th place for the 57. Brad Keselowski will be in the 29th spot, and Eric Norris in 30th. Kyle Busch will be in the 31st position, and Ricky Hendrick 32nd. Jamie McMurray will be in the 33rd spot, and John Andretti in 34th. Casey Mears, the rookie, in the 55. He's 35th, and Jeremy Mayfield will be in the 36th position. 37th goes to Mike McLaughlin, and Marcos Ambrose in P38. 39th, that'll be Brian Vickers in the 44. Boris Said starting this week in the 60. He'll be in 40th. And rounding out the field in the back row, it'll be Brian Keselowski's number 34 and Jack Sprague in the number 78. Getting ready to start here at Rockingham, a 42-car field as always, and we take you to the racetrack for the most famous words in motorsports, the command here from The Rock.
Drivers, start your
Field roars to life as we get set to roll. 42-car field as always, and Rockingham always one to excite as Wimmer leads the field off of the pit lane and onto the opening parade lap. 110 laps, your race length here tonight from Rockingham. Rockingham always a fun one to watch. Beat up racing surface, heavy tire wear at this place. We've seen these guys handle turn 1 a little bit better this year. That Gen 5, we talked about it last week. There's a lot more front downforce on this race car. It's got a lot more downforce in general, both on the rear and on the front. There's a lot more grip to this thing, and these guys have really managed to shoot around this racetrack. It's been fun to watch them in practice and qualifying, but all that will be just a trial run compared to the main race. 110 laps as mentioned here in the Subway 400. Wimmer and Newman on the front row, and we'll see these guys get underway on a cheese grater of a racing surface here at the Rock. 110 laps, Wimmer the pole sitter, to the restart box, the initial start, and we are green here in the Subway 400. Wimmer up to speed and through 3 and 4. The pole sitter in the number 23 off to the races, and he's got the lead out of turn 4 to lead the opening lap. Casey Atwood will take away second. We see that top side not really working out at all as Ryan Newman drops steadily backwards on the start. How about Ryan McGlynn in the 07 to the bottom of the racetrack, going into the top 10 to open up this race. Jeff Gordon's number 24 follows him as that 07 moves into the 7th position on lap number 2. Underway here from Rockingham as the top 6 have broken away. Robbie Gordon's 31 backs just outside the top 5. Elliott Sadler on the bottom with a good start. Again, we talk about that outside really does not like to work at this racetrack in these cars. We've seen this happen here quite a lot, that the bottom, especially in 3 and 4, really likes to prevail. And Ryan Newman, that 38 car, already dropping outside the top 15 after starting on the top and just unable to find that lane to the bottom to try and make up spots. Very nearly contact between McMurray and Montoya in the back of your frame. See the 40 trying to make up some positions after a rough qualifying for him, as well as the 2 of Keselowski, 43 of Kyle Busch. That bottom of the racetrack is right where you want to be. Atwood trying to chase down this 23. 30 car of Casey Atwood looking to try and grab the lead. Lap number 4 here, as the top 2 have broken away just a touch. Battle for third between Tony Stewart and Matt Kenseth as the 42 and 17 duel for this position, number 3 into turn 1. Sadler's number 83 going to follow through on the bottom side, and he's going to duck underneath the 17 and Kenseth himself from the 3rd position. And he slips right on past. Robbie Gordon going to follow the 83. Kenseth ends up falling all the way back down to 6th place amidst this front group. Backing up outside of the front group of leaders is still McGlynn's number 07 as he continues to hold off that 24 of Jeff Gordon, off to a fabulous start in tonight's race, as mentioned here on a Saturday night. Top 2 have significantly pulled away from the battle for 3rd, thanks to those guys being side by side for a couple of the opening laps. When we're trying to keep a steady gap to the 30 of Atwood, gotta manage your tires at this racetrack, mentioned that. We always talk about tire wear in this series, but of course here at Rockingham, this racetrack cuts up tires like nowhere else on the calendar, and we see a lot of it at this racetrack. And these drivers really struggle to manage their tires. We see seconds upon seconds of fall off, getting as far up as 3 to 4 seconds of tire fall off at a racetrack such as this. And it's any surprise, a racetrack so small yet so quick. We see such high speeds at this racetrack, and these guys really like to send it off into the corners. High bank, high action. Lap number 8, taking lap number 9 is Wimmer as he continues to pull away from Atwood in 2nd place. 7th and 8th place, McGlynn and Gordon beginning to catch up to the top group. As the 07 heads the way in front of the 24 and the 19. Clint Boyer's number 4 car managed to find a way to the bottom pretty quick after the start of the race. Didn't lose too many positions. He sits 10th. Rounding out that top 10 ahead of Bodine's number 77. Single file train right now. Gaps between most of the drivers in the top 10. McGlynn and Gordon the closest of the 2 in this front 10. And coming up on 10 laps completed this time by for the race leaders. holding off that 24. Pulling away from him down the front stretch. Battle behind them as Edwards is going to get taken side by side by Boyer's number 4. Edwards trying to hang tight on that top, but again, we mentioned the outside really hasn't worked too much in this race car in general, and at this track especially. The bottom already really likes to prevail here, especially when you're side by side. And Boyer making quick work of the McDonald's 19 into 9th place as he settles into that position. Meanwhile, Atwood trying to reel that 23 back in. Wimmer led every lap from the pole so far. Atwood keeping him on his toes, close between the top 2 most of this race so far. But Atwood unable to find any headway to try to get the lead from the 23 car, so these two still sit bumper to bumper with a lot of laps in front of them. Still even playing field between these two. No further battles anywhere in the top 10, though. McGlynn's 07, I believe he got kicked up to the outside by Jeff Gordon's number 24 and drops down to 14th. Got just freight train. We mentioned it at this racetrack over and over and over again, and McGlynn drops all the way down to 14th after being in the 7th position for a pretty significant period of time. Bumps Todd Bodine's number 77 into the top 10. Battle for position for 5th. First spot in the top 5 between Kenseth and Tony Stewart's number 42 car, as Elliott Sadler in the 83 has begun to reel in the race leaders just a little bit. Robbie Gordon, who's also been off to a good start in this race, in 4th. Not too terribly far out of shot behind the top 3. As this group is looking to compound in the next couple laps. Pretty much every car behind the next is faster on a lap-by-lap basis at the moment. And Atwood still piling the pressure on to the 23 of Wimmer, but unable to get the nose underneath him. Tried to maybe show a little bit of his front bumper into turn 1 that time. Couldn't manage it. Off of turn number 4 now, or excuse me, turn 2 heading towards 3 and 4. And Atwood gonna look underneath, trying to make the move. Wimmer gonna run it all the way to the outside and try to find the grip up top. Atwood all the way on the bottom. Wimmer making good work of that outside there, trying to hold it up top, and he retains the lead. Now here comes Sadler, going to try to go to the outside of Atwood for the runner-up spot. Couldn't do it. That kicks him back to Robbie Gordon for 3rd. Masterful defense by that 23 car, as Sadler's going to have to yield the inside to Gordon's number 31. And a much better run on the bottom by Robbie Gordon. Worth mentioning, Atwood got underneath the 23, clipped the apron there in turn 4. I believe it got his car just that little bit unsettled. Couldn't keep the throttle down on exit, and Wimmer, pinning him down there rather beautifully, holds the lead. Jeff Gordon moved up another spot into 6th. Got past Matt Kenseth's number 17 car. And at a race like Rockingham with such heavy tire wear, we see a lot of comers and goers. The field changes a lot. The drivers you'll see at the front of the field at the end of the race usually aren't the same ones that you see at the start of the race. At least a couple usually like to maintain up front. But this is a tough racetrack to stay competitive the whole night. We see a lot of it. And for these guys, Wimmer and Atwood, are really hoping to be those kind of drivers that can manage to pull off being competitive in the first half and the second half of this race. But it's a tall ask at a track like this. Wimmer has once again begun to open up that gap to Casey Atwood in 2nd. Fairly significant distance between Atwood and his teammate Robbie Gordon in 3rd. Sadler's still right on the back bumper of this AT&T Chevrolet, and the rest of the members of this front group is now a 5-car pack behind Robbie Gordon all the way back to the Kenseth number 17 machine. No headway made yet. It's always a bit of a struggle to pass at this racetrack. Rockingham is a driver's track first, And we see these guys really just trying to run their own race at the moment. It is hard to get a pass done here and get close enough to make one in the first place. And we're seeing quite a lot of that once again here tonight. Atwood once again reeling this 23 back in. It's a bit of that push and pull. Hard to run consistent laps at this racetrack as well, as the lap times continue to tail off. Over a second off already, 23, now 24 laps into this race. Lap traffic will begin to show themselves as last place car on the racetrack right now is Brian Keselowski's number 34, just under a half lap ahead of the 23 of Wimmer. Atwood still trying to find the grip behind the 23 of Wimmer and look for a spot on the racetrack to get by. He's got to get close enough to make the move first. Wimmer has still led every single lap of this race here tonight, but not without a challenge. Atwood still piling the pressure onto him and has been doing so all night long. Top group is still beginning to compound a little bit as Wimmer still having to fend off that 30. Atwood tried going to the outside down the backstretch there. Couldn't pull it off. Wimmer just trying to defend that bottom and force the 30 up high. Make Atwood use the disadvantageous line. Edwards and Boyer have now moved up into this train in the top 10. And the battle for the lead is getting closer. Robbie Gordon joining this front group up front. Elliott Sadler's number 83. Tony Stewart in the 42. As Stewart going to get underneath the 83 car for the 4th spot here. And he slips right on by. Gordon next underneath the 83. Sadler's going to probably slip all the way back to that 9th spot that is currently occupied by Edwards in the 19. Atwood still just trying to find a way around. Wimmer making that 23 car wide. And these are two drivers hungry to win this race. Big run by Wimmer off of turn number 2 that time. Pulled back away from Atwood. Robbie Gordon to the back bumper of his teammate in the 30. And you start to think for that 30 and 31, Robbie Gordon's thinking, all right, got to cut my teammate a little bit of slack here, but it seems like the 31 might just be a touch faster, at least in this stage in the race, as the lap times have really plateaued now above 26s for some drivers. Jeff Gordon on the back bumper of Tony Stewart for 4th. Sadler did drop all the way to the back of this group and in fact lost another position. That was to DJ Kennington's number 81, who begins to make an appearance late in the race. "30 laps completed," coming to 31 this time by. Wimmer once again just running away from that 30 car. Continue to see this push and pull, and right now, Wimmer pushing a little bit. And the top 3 separate each other once again. And we are going to see our first pit stops of the night as Robbie Gordon's going to elect to take the shortcut. Only driver in the top 10 to come in on lap number 32. And the lap times, again, you see these really start to plateau. We're getting closer to 26.5s. There was a 26.4 by Atwood the last time by, and we'll see these drivers begin to pit once again. Stewart going to stay high. Look to stay out and lead a lap here. Boyer going to come in back there, but the top 2 in. First lap led not by the 23. Tony Stewart stays out to lead a lap. Jeff Gordon right behind him. Ken's is still on the racetrack as well. And we will now see Pit stops take place for the leaders, and it is a tight pit lane at this racetrack. You want to stay out of trouble. And right there you see Atwood really cutting it tight with the 98 of Rudeman. Believe he brushed his door just a touch, but managed to get it into the pit box. Clean in for Wimmer's number 23. Robbie Gordon sure to take the race lead here on the undercut, as he stays on the racetrack trying to get past this 23. As Wimmer, a fabulous pit stop though. Trying to beat the 31 out, coming out of the pit lane this time. And 3 wide as they went into turn number 3. But Wimmer is going to slip right on underneath and gets in front of the 31 car. Great pit stop by Scott Wimmer on the fresher tires now too. Stays in front of Robbie Gordon's number 31. And you see Wimmer and Gordon now dealing with traffic on old tires that have still stayed on the racetrack longer. DJ Kennington's still on the racetrack, the race leader right now, really going long. And you got to find that balance. Mears going to rejoin the racetrack right in front of this 81. Kennington still on the racing surface. And you just see the difference as the 1378 cars who have been in the back of the field most of the race flying past Kennington, who is continuing to run laps on these older tires. But you want to maybe try the overcut? It is going to be debatable if it works out for these guys. We've seen in other races at this racetrack that the overcut does seem to work later in the race. Early on, it might be a bit of a struggle as Kennington will finally bring it to pit road. Ricky Hendrick going to give him the lane after Kennington sticks the hand out the window. But Sadler stays on the racetrack another lap, going as far as 39. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number 88 rejoining the racetrack in front of him. Wimmer looking to take the net lead is way out in front of the 31 of Robbie Gordon. And Sadler will finally bring it to pit road, lap number 39. And what's important there is going that long on fuel. You could potentially cut a pit stop out of this race on fuel. Debatable to see if a race like this will go green. Rockingham usually has at least 1 or 2 cautions over the course of it. But it's been a clean race so far. And Wimmer looking to comfortably take away the race lead and return to the top spot. Truex at 28, who was also a long stayer. He's in the pits. Robbie Gordon to net P2. And this time back to the top steps, Scott Wimmer in the 23, who has dominated the early portion of this race, is right back out in front. Actually, 16 of Biffle led that last lap. Was the very last pitter on lap number 41 for him. And you're seeing these drivers who stayed out long going to the point that they start falling a lap down. We see the number 28 of Truex, who is up there in the mix, is now -1. And for that 83 car of Elliott Sadler, is not a lap down, but is mired outside the top 20. And is going to have a lot of room to improve on a lot fresher tires as well. Those tires about 10 laps better than everyone around him now. So it's going to be interesting to see these differing strategies play out. We don't often see a lot of that in these races, really anywhere. So Rockingham playing some interesting strategy at the moment. It'll be fun to see exactly how things work out for these drivers. But for the moment, Scott Wimmer back to the race lead and leading by well over 5 seconds. It's a 6.28 gap to the second place car, Robbie Gordon in the 31. And you're seeing some of these cars who stayed out long, who are lapped. Biffle and McMurray, the 16 and the 40, on far fresher tires. Beginning to get around these lead lap cars thanks to their fresher stuff. Casey Kane moves into the 3rd position. Atwood, fairly rough stop for the 30, but didn't lose too terribly long. Falls down to P4 and 5th It's a big battle for these top 5 spots back here. David Rudiman had a fantastic pit stop. He's into 9th. Ryan McGlynn back into the top 10 as well. You see right now 5th place belonging to Matt Kenseth's number 17 car as we continue to lap away, and Wimmer is in massive control of this race, and right now fresher tires on his race car than Robbie Gordon in 2nd, who's continued to fall off of him, and Wimmer has huge control of this race right now. But for that 23 team, we'll see what the deal with fuel is, of course. If this race manages to go green, we'll find out. Again, at Rockingham, you can bank on it not going green, but at this racetrack, you never know. Racing is racing. It's hard to predict. We'll see if it goes green. And for those guys who stayed out long, you think of Sadler, you think of the 16 and the 28 of Truex, who, despite the fact that they are so far back right now, if strategy goes right for them, could end up in the right spot. Elliott Sadler in the 83 went about 8 to 10 laps longer than the 23 of Wimmer, who's back in the lead of this race, and Elliott Sadler's in a better position than any of the drivers who went long. He is on the lead lap. He is now in the top 25. He sits 25th, and again, much fresher tires than anybody else on the racetrack right now. So we'll see if it works out for that 83. Really trying to play the differing game, and he's really gambling his race on the line here. Running tires like that and running a different strategy like that, fell out of the top 10 to do it and fell out of the top 20 to do it. And tell you what, don't believe that's going to be the case. Ryan Newman's number 38 blowing up, and that is going to bring out the first caution of the night. Kennington stuck behind him. Couldn't get out of the way, had to let all the traffic go, so the yellow flag flies. Truex Jr. going to get his lap back here from Wimmer. Good break for the 02 of Allgaier. He's going to get cut a break thanks to Truex getting his lap back here, so the lucky dog will go to the 02 of Justin Allgaier, and the caution flag flies for the first time here tonight. And that splits up the strategy, puts everybody right back on even playing field. Rough break for the 83 and others who were trying to play that differing strategy game, and it takes Sadler's race a step backwards, as well as Truex, Biffle, and others. And in fact, the 16 going to get trapped a lap down here unless he decides to stay out on the pit cycle. Will be allowed to pit next time. But Scott Wimmer, the race leader, lap number 50 here from Rockingham, will lead the field down for another round of pit stops. Casey Kane just took the 2nd position, and he moves into P2. And a big gap here from Wimmer thanks to the lap cars in between him and the rest of the field as he leads everybody down pit road. Rough break for Ryan Newman, who is running within the top 10 with a shot at the top 5. And Wimmer, the race leader, into his pit box. 4 tires and fuel for everybody here. You see the pit data flowing in on your screen there. And Wimmer out and away. The race leader retains first place off of pit road. And you will see the 02, 16, and 40 will all bring it to pit road on lap number 50 for them. So Allgaier is going to be the only one that gets a wave around. Wimmer, the race leader, lap number 51 at the moment here from Rockingham, and we will be right back here in the Subway 400. Back from intermission here at Rockingham as we get set to roll here. Lap number 54 for the race leader, Scott Wimmer. Issues on pit road for Scott Riggs' number 57 cars. He got ran into by Matt Kenseth in the pits. Justin Allgaier, as mentioned previous, the lucky dog. He rejoins the lead lap. And 3 cars will be a lap down, 57, 16, and 40, as Riggs getting repairs on pit road with the damage to his door. And Wimmer, the race leader, 23, 31, 12, 24, and 4, your top 5. As we get to set to roll here, Wimmer led every single lap of non-pit cycle action so far in tonight's race on a Saturday night, and he continues to dominate. See if he's still got enough to hold off Robbie Gordon into the restart box. Green flag flies once again, and we are back underway here at Rockingham. Boyer stuck up on the outside there. He goes almost into the wall, managed to keep it out of the fence, I believe, but loses a lot of spots on the restart. Drops all the way out of the top 10 as Stewart puts him into 11th. When we talk about that outside, just has not worked here tonight, and the outside really is a struggle. You see these guys, you get freight trained on the top. Vickers and Labonte stuck on the outside as well, and they are going to drop a lot of positions stuck up there.
You got to try to filter your way down to the bottom as fast as you can, but when there's a train like that, you don't want to cut in front of somebody and end up spinning yourself out. So, you know, as much as it sucks to lose that track position, you have to make sure to be smart about it, be diligent to try to get down, but also not wreck yourself in the process.
Labonte side by side with Atwood there. That's for the 11th spot. And Scott Wimmer off to a fabulous restart as Robbie Gordon got kicked out of second place by Casey Kane. Jumps back underneath Jeff Gordon to fight him for third. As these two Chevrolets side by side for the final podium spot. Kane, a very good middle portion of the race, and joins the top 5 now into the runner-up spot as Wimmer once again just trying to dominate this race. That 23 has been unstoppable here tonight. Has had some challenges from Casey Atwood early in the race, who was right on his back bumper for the other portion, but after that pit cycle was 7 seconds out in the race lead, but yellow flag brings everybody back into it. It's got to hold off Casey Kane as the 12 tries to reel him in. Big gap for these two. Back to Robbie Gordon after the battle for third place. Gordon drops to 5th. Matt Kenseth, who got into that incident with Riggs, seems no worse for wear. He's in P4. And David Rudiman just outside the top 5 in 6th place.
Right behind them, Ryan McGlynn, a fantastic run for that 07. Yet again, had a strong showing in the Daytona 500, even managed to lead a lap, but 7th place at a track as tough as Rockingham for that team, that must feel like a win.
It's been an absolutely fabulous run for this 07. He has been as high as 7th, was in that position early in the race, got eventually filtered out as Jeff Gordon made a move underneath him, dropped him down to around the 15th through 20th range, and back up into 7th place. That pit stop went really well for him under the green flag conditions, and seems no worse for wear after the yellow flag pit cycle as well, and got a good car underneath him. That Blockbuster 07 Pontiac is really having a fabulous race, and McGlynn, who said he was targeting running full-time this year in his own car, is off to a fantastic start this year.
Absolutely, and it's also a great run for Rudiman ahead of him in that Aikens 98 car. You know, we haven't talked a whole lot about David Rudiman as a prospect because it's just like there's so many good talents coming into this series that he gets a little overshadowed. But Rudiman is another great driver who has the potential to do some great things in the sport. He might not have the fanfare of a Kennington or a Keselowski, but still a very solid driver and proving that tonight.
Absolutely, and for Aikens and their team, won the Busch race on Friday night. Win went to the number 38 of Todd Cleaver, so off to a very good start this year. 3 straight top 5s for that 38 car in the Busch Series. Just past halfway in this race as Casey Kane reeling that 23 in, looking to make the first lead change on the racetrack here tonight. Only one previous instance of the lead being side-by-side was between Wimmer and Atwood. 30 car clipped the apron, couldn't keep it there, and didn't get side-by-side with him again after that. Kane, the next challenger for this 23, as Wimmer has, again, just been untouched here tonight. It's a better run out of Wimmer we've ever seen in his entire career. He has just dominated this race here tonight. And what a story it would be for him if he could get his first non-super speedway win in the Cup Series. Of course, 2-time Cup winner. Once at Daytona and once at Talladega. And continuing to show promise and very, very good runs for this 23 team, and he has shot out of a cannon here tonight.
And what a win it would be for Bill Davis Racing as well. I mean, it's been, other than the 23 car, which has been pretty solid these past couple of years, it's been a struggle for Bill Davis. They haven't had really consistent speed at any point, and although sometimes they have those runs that make you think that, hey, this could be a team that really can compete, that speed is never consistently there. But Wimmer is having the best run probably of his entire career today, and if he can close this out, it could be a big confidence booster for Bill Davis Racing as a whole.
Absolutely, and there's a reason that Bill Davis puts so much faith in this young man. Has been a part of this organization since 2002 in the Cup Series, part-time that year in 2002, Daytona 500 champion for the team, and they just continue to field his race cars, and Bill Davis says, there's nobody better for me to build my team around, and not a surprise that this young man is so unbelievably talented, and there is a reason that he has continually contended at the front of the field in some of these off races where he has just really put together these fabulous runs, but there has been none like what he has put together here tonight. Top 5 all under a blanket. Wimmer through Jeff Gordon in the 24, who sits in the 5th spot. McGlynn dropped backwards to 12th after getting kicked up to the outside again. We see that training. Boris said, also remember this top 15, Kennington trying to pick up some spots after losing positions on pit road. Jimmy Johnson in the top 15 as well. And Kurt Busch, who has been in recovery mode this race, started, I believe it was outside the top 25 to start this race here tonight, makes his first appearance in the top 10. Really putting together a solid middle portion of this race and continuing to pick up spots. And Kane got dropped to the outside as Robbie Gordon got underneath him for second, and the 31 back to the runner-up position. Winner last week, continuing to carry that momentum.
And then you got Matt Kenseth behind him in the 3rd spot, who came agonizingly close to winning the Busch race. But for Matt Kenseth, it's been a rough go these past few years. He has really struggled to find any sort of consistent speed, and you know, the windless drought just eats at a driver, especially someone as talented as Matt Kenseth. What a win it would be for him if he could somehow get up to the lead of this race. But Robbie Gordon putting a ton of pressure on the back end of Scott Wimmer.
Has his nose pretty much shoved up the rear bumper of the 23. Wimmer trying to cover that all too important bottom. Gordon almost got into him going into turn 1. This is such a tight battle. The top 5 all bumper to bumper. Wimmer, once again, just masterful defense from that 23. Keeps Robbie Gordon at bay and then pulls away from him off of turn 2. It's Jeff Gordon off the back bumper of the 17 there in turns 3 and 4. Couldn't make anything happen there. Tight battle up front. 39 laps to go is your count. As Gordon once again is going to have a better 1 and 2, try and pull up to the back bumper, get a run on this 23. Nobody has been able to surpass him for the top spot on the throne in tonight's race, but he has been, this is the closest that anyone has ever been, and Wimmer just a little bit loose out of turn 4. Gordon to the bottom, side by side for the lead. Headed into turn 1, Wimmer trying to hold on the top, and once again he does.
He drives it in very deep on the top lane, able to retain that lead. Robbie Gordon's got to be thinking, what do I have to do? Because he did everything right. He got underneath him, got down into turn 1 well, but Wimmer drove it off in there, able to keep the lead.
And we've seen, again, that top side has been a bit of a struggle here tonight, especially in this new race car, and nobody has been able to work the outside better than the man leading this race right now. Wimmer has just, he did that earlier with Casey Atwood as a 30 car got underneath him for the lead. In fact, it was in 3 and 4 that he cleared him on the outside, which we have not seen from anybody else in this field here tonight. And that 23 car just has something else of a piece underneath him. And as the laps continue to wind down, has just put on a race unlike anything we have really ever seen in the last couple of years.
For Scott Wimmer, you know, you have to stay focused, as hard as it may be, at a racetrack like this where it's so easy to make a mistake, wash up the racetrack. You have to make sure that you know, you want to get that trophy, but you also have to stay focused to make sure that one of these guys doesn't slip underneath you, because if they slip underneath you, you're going to lose 3, 4, 5 positions.
Absolutely. Again, we talk about that bottom being all too important at this racetrack. Wimmer a little higher than Robbie Gordon through 3 and 4 that time, as the 31 is once again trying to close up. Casey Kane gets past Jeff Gordon for the 4th spot on the front stretch that time by. Rudiman still 6th in the 96, a bit of a ways off the top 5. Battling with Bobby Labonte for that 6th position right now as this race continues to whittle away. Top 3 have ran away thanks to Kane making the pass on Jeff Gordon for 4th. Kenseth, Gordon, Wimmer, all still up front. All still to play for. Approaching 30 laps to go a couple times from now here in North Carolina. And this battle for the win continuing to grow more and more prominent. But the question is if anyone can surmount that 23 team here tonight. From Rockingham, lap number 79 this time by for the race leaders. Give you a little bit of nothing but engines here at Rockingham as we take you to NASCAR on ESPN. Crank it up. And Scott Wimmer, the number 23, is going to undercut on the pit cycle here. Lap number 80 for Wimmer's number 23. Was the only driver in the top 10 to come in that early. It's right on the nose on fuel, but you can make it about 40 laps on fuel, providing your tires last that long. 83 of Elliott Sadler is going to do the exact inverse of the strategy he did to open up the race. Goes short as he pits in early. So Wimmer going to head the way on the pit stops here. Robbie Gordon in the next time. Kenseth stays out to take the lead. 17's got the 12 and 24 with him still, so these 3 remain on the racetrack. Sadler rejoins right in front of them. Jeff Gordon looking like he's going to go a little longer. 12 and 17, hands out the window. They're going to bring it to pit road. And looks like there was some collisions on pit road here. That was Justin Allgaier's number 02 and the 78 of Jack Sprague. Looking like the 02, man, hard hit to the passenger door there for Justin Allgaier as Sprague was trying to get into his pit box. So a bit of damage on the pit lane. Again, we always talk about this racetrack. It is so tough to get in and out of the pits here. It is such a tight pit lane, pretty much the tightest there is on the entire calendar. Saw Kenseth and Riggs get into each other earlier on in this race as the 17 is on pit road now. And Jeff Gordon brought it to pit lane. He gets into his box. And you're going to see that 23 of Wimmer work his magic on that undercut. Working with the lap car Allgaier now with the damage on the 02. And caution flag is out. Oh my goodness me. Wreck going into turn number 3. Do not know exactly who it was, but the caution flag comes out right in the middle of pit cycles. I have no idea who the leader is now, to be honest. I believe it is going to be the 31 of Robbie Gordon. Providing there isn't anyone who is tail end. Saw Jeff Gordon, McMurray, and others moving up to retake their spots on the racetrack after falling down And looking like that was the 84. Oh my goodness. Heavy damage to Casey Kane and Juan Pablo Montoya. Both those cars without their front ends after getting towed. Again, we'll get a check on this. There's going to be a retirement from the race for these drivers, and looking like it was an incident. In fact, Casey Kane already had damage on the front of his race car and the back entering pit road, so looking like there was issues. Yes, issues entering and exiting the pits. That was Boris Sed's number 60, who drove Kane into the back of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Kane getting back onto the racetrack. Well, it looks like Junior didn't take too kindly to that and spun the 12 out and slid right down into Montoya, who had nowhere to go, and a hard impact there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't think NASCAR's going to like that too much.
Yeah, Kane, who was damaged. And yeah, looking like Earnhardt Jr. didn't take too kindly to the 12, getting into him, leaving the pits, and spun him straight into traffic. Jason Leffler incredibly lucky to get around that wreck. And a hard hit for Montoya, who just couldn't quite decide which direction to go. Kane slid down the banking, and I imagine Montoya expected him to stay up. So we'll take an intermission here under yellow flag from Rockingham. Back from intermission here at Rockingham. Long yellow there as the pretty much entire field had to get waved around. Tail end of the lead lap, Jeff Gordon takes the race lead away as Jeff Burton will start in second, Robbie Gordon third, Scott Wimmer in fourth. Allgaier is a lap car, and DJ Kennington in the fifth position. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the number 88 is going to be parked from this race with 20 laps to go, taking 19 laps to go, and I doubt NASCAR is going to enjoy that one.
Yes, yeah, certainly not. I mean, he did hook him pretty much directly into traffic, took out Montoya in a very, very hard hit, but NASCAR gonna have to try to decide what to do with that, but I have a feeling whatever they decide is not exactly going to be in the favor of the 88.
Pace car in, 19 to go as Jeff Gordon steals the lead thanks to the caution in the middle of pit cycles. Green flag flies. Robbie Gordon jumping to the bottom right away underneath of his teammate Jeff Burton for second. Scott Wimmer trying to make quick work of the damaged O2 as they try to get around the traffic here. Not a good start for the 8 of Jeff Burton as he drops backwards very quickly. It's the Gordon and Gordon show first and second now, as Wimmer going to try and settle in. Really rough break for him to drop him out of the lead thanks to that yellow flag.
Yeah, now he's got a lot of work to do, and we've seen it's been difficult to pass today, but if anybody has a strong enough car to do it, I would say it is that 23 of Scott Wimmer.
Got some headway to make. Lap car of Todd Bodine between the 24 and 31, Jeff and Robbie Gordon out in front of this race as the 24 begins to scoot away. Racetrack still clean and green. Jeff Gordon spent pretty much this entire race in the top 5, had a good race car underneath him, caught the yellow at just the right time, and beginning to run away with what could be a surefire victory for this 24 car as Robbie Gordon is making no ground on that 24.
Yeah, certainly not. And he's going to need to get around that 77, but he's actually started to drop further back to the 23, so Jeff Gordon is pretty far gone at this moment.
Turns 1 and 2 with 15 laps to go now as the 24 continues to pull this gap. Robbie Gordon not seeming like he's got a whole lot in the tank at the moment, and even if a yellow were to come out, that 77 is not 1 but 2 laps down, so would not get waived. Robbie Gordon finding a little bit of composure after a couple laps there, seeming like he stopped the bleeding at least for the moment. But not a lot of time left in this race. Got to make it happen quick if he wants to get up to the 24 and win back-to-back races rather quickly to open up this year. 24 going to go on the defensive, of course. Wimmer not making any headway from third, backing up a train, as a matter of fact. It's Kennington, Harvick, and Johnson behind the 23. Nobody out back from 6th place to 7th is Bobby Labonte. Jeff Burton still in the top 10, though. Mayfield and Kyle Busch, the two Petty teammates, back up this top 10. Kyle Busch trying to make work of the lap car, Justin Allgaier. And Todd Bodine, the lap car, has pulled Robbie Gordon back up to this 24. This race isn't over yet. Still just over 10 laps left. We'll see if the 77 will get past the 24, try to unlap himself here. And if Robbie Gordon can take advantage of the 77 pulling up to this 24. Down the back stretch. Gordon trying to keep the 77 at bay and by proxy the 31. And not a lot of laps left in this thing, but Robbie Gordon still within striking distance. Just has to lay down solid laps and stay close. 10 to go, that time by for Jeff Gordon and Robbie Gordon, leading this race by a long shot. Wimmer has fallen well out of frame from third. So it's just between the two Chevrolets now. As Bodine right up the back bumper of the 24. Now 9 to go. No traffic in front for the 24 car. It's just this 77. Robbie Gordon dropping off the last couple laps. And we see that push and pull. We'll see if Robbie Gordon can pull back up, but he is dropped a lot that last time by. And Gordon once again pulls a big margin between himself and second place Robbie Gordon, trying to come home and close out this victory. And this racetrack, over the last couple seasons, has emerged as one of Jeff Gordon's best. He really seems to have some know-how at this racetrack. Has had some of his best runs over the last couple of years at this very place, and looking to take home Hendrick's first win of the 2007 season if he can close it out. Just a couple more to go here in North Carolina. Gordon finding some speed again that last time by. See if he can manage to close back up, but laps are running out. And this time by for Jeff Gordon's number 24, 5 laps to go. And Wimmer has now dropped out of the top 5, fell behind the 2 Gibbs cars as well as Jimmy Johnson's number 48 right on the back bumper of Kennington, trying to fight to regain that top 5. Again, just heartbreak for this 23 who looked so unbelievably good here tonight and just caught that yellow at exactly the wrong time. Three laps to go now, and once again, Gordon has pulled some more time on that 31. Was 2.5 tenths better the last time by. DuPont Chevrolet can pretty much cruise from here. Burton's number 8 moves into the 7th position. Bobby Labonte caught the wrong end of time the last couple laps. He moves to 9th. Kennington beginning to skirt away from the 23 and try and hold on to this top 5 over the dominant car of the night. And this time by for Jeff Gordon's number 24. White flag in the air. Last time around here at Rockingham for Jeff Gordon. Certainly not the way they drew it up, but for Jeff Gordon and crew chief Alf Gustafson, these guys have really seemed to nail strategy over the last couple years, and once again, the pit strategy will grab them another one. Jeff Gordon, first win of 2007, and a spinner on the front stretch on the last lap, but Jeff Gordon's number 24 wins it here at Rockingham. He is your victor in the Subway 400, and saw those tire marks right up against the pit wall there. And that was Kyle Busch's number 43 that got spun around taking the white flag. Believe he got ran into by the 18 of Bobby Labonte. And get a look back at the lap leading up to this. As Kyle Busch appears to have maybe thrown a block or two on the 18, blocked him up to the top, and then back down to the bottom going into turn number 3, coming to the white flag. And looking like the 18 did not take too kindly to being pinched there as well and spun him right out. Kyle Busch goes for a spin through the grass, got the inside wall as well, and dropped quite a few positions. Got into Atwood rejoining the track, couldn't keep it off in the 30. But Bobby Labonte, usually a soft-spoken driver, really didn't take too kindly to the 43. Really was driving aggressive for that position there. That was for, I believe, the 9th spot. No, excuse me, 8th. And and Labani got underneath the 43, and Kyle pinched him down quite a lot, and Labani just decided he had had enough and spun the 43 into the grass on the front stretch. Bush managed to hold on to it, although again got into the 30, rejoining the racetrack. Number 18 narrowly holds off Kurt Busch for the 9th position, coming to the checkers. But all that happening, what a wacky, wacky race, and a race we saw a lot of tempers in. But Jeff Gordon in the number 24 is your winner here tonight. And again, just what a wild conclusion here to this race at Rockingham. But Jeff Gordon, again, plays the strategy right. And the 24 is your winner. After a grueling race at the Rock. But that'll do it for coverage here from Rockingham, as a 24 takes home his first victory of 2007. Next week, it'll be week number 4 of the season as we take you to Darlington for the Food City Rebel 400. I'm Caden Reif on behalf of Nate, joining me in the booth here tonight. Pleasure to have you along as always, and we'll see you next time. And as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.